from the great state of Iowa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I want to say thank you to our fearless chairman here from the great state of Wisconsin, both a VFW and an American Legion fellow. I appreciate your service and honored to serve with you in that capacity in our new roles today. With that, I'd like to take us back to where we are presently. Many in this community are combat veterans like ourselves. Others are members of our community who are watching as equally horrified as I am with the events unfolding in Israel. The destruction of that community forces us as Americans to reflect upon our own service, our commitment to our family, our friends, and those who we live with. I'm here today not just as a U.S. member of Congress, but as a 20-year Air Force veteran who has served in combat operations, as many here around the world. But it's as a commander, I watched my own forces struggle with life that came after their military service. And so today I carry before us a message for those who can no longer speak. Specifically, I speak in honor of Corporal Adam Lambert, a proud Marine from Adel, Iowa, in my home community. He loved his family, he loved his friends, and he loved his country. He put himself before family, friends, and country time after time. Adam bravely served our country in the Marines, deploying to Okinawa and then on to Afghanistan. And during boot camp, he made a battle buddy named Daniel Harvey from Rhode Island. These two became fast friends and connected through their deployments and tried to maintain that through their return home to the U.S. But at 22 years old, Daniel became a victim of suicide just after a year leaving the Marines. Adam, his best friend, followed with him less than a month later. Adam was a beloved son and a brother and a friend. Unfortunately, this story is all too common for our fellow service members when they come home from duty. And in my home state of Iowa, sadly, we have a suicide rate for veterans 4 times that of the national average. Something, Mr. Chair, has to be done. And that's why I'm proud to work with members in this room when I led the introduction of H.R. 3722. The Daniel J. Harvey Jr. and Adam Lambert Improving Service Member Transition to Reduce Veteran Suicide Act. As we all know, veteran suicide is another casualty of war, one that demands immediate attention and action by our members of Congress. I want to thank you to the committee is here today and speak a little more specifically on what we can do to continue to help our veterans as they transition at some point from their military life to their civilian life. And so, Ms. Bearfield, I'll begin with you. First, I want to thank you for your support. I want to speak specifically to the Transition Assistance Program and speak to any issues that have gone unnoticed or overlooked in recent years and how we could continue to improve this program even further, sir.
Thank you for the question. As I mentioned in my oral statement, when I went through the TAP program more than 25 years ago, and the way that I felt after I left my years of service with the United States Army, there were days where I just felt I was thrown away. I got a service-connected disability and was released basically because of the fact that I was non-deployable anymore. And in those initial months after service, I felt like nobody really cared. And being able to have mental health services available to me during that time frame would have been very beneficial. I didn't do the ultimate act like the gentleman that you mentioned earlier, but it wasn't far from my thought process. And being able to have those services available are crucial because you're talking about a very tender time period. Those first 12 months after being medically retired, or discharged from service is a very tender time. And a lot of service members are out in the fog about what to do or what's available to them. So being able to indicate and note those services are there for them is very important.
Thank you, Mr. Bearfield. I would agree. Deputy Director Keenan, thank you for your service as well and your continued service with the VFW. You recommended including provisions that would require a health assessment and treatment plans to be conducted in private at the VA. Talk to us about what the current practice is and if there's any recommendations you'd have on that front for mental health.
Thank you for that question. I think our recommendation has to do with including this in TAP and having an opportunity within the program for some one-on-one private counseling if that's required by the service member, if they seek that, so that they can actually discuss some of those issues, maybe outside of the class, but still with somebody who can provide the resources that they need.
Much appreciated. Thank you. We can all be strong in uniform, but as we make that transition, we need that access to it. Mr. Chair, I yield my time, and thank you for your service.
Well, thank you, sir. And Mr. Nunn, you are always welcome here, and I hope you understand that the support behind your bill is unanimous. And there's a couple things we got to tweak on it, but you know, it is my number one legislative priority as the chairman of the subcommittee to prevent veteran suicide. We're good? And he's an Air Force guy.